Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Simply Spooky. It's me and Viv this evening, as usual. It's like there's going to be anybody else there, although starting next week, there probably will. But this week, we've been lucky enough to be joined by a couple of lovely, lovely people. It's Ben and Lou, and the extraordinary thing about this couple of people is that they are demonologists. And if you know me and Viv, which you clearly do, you'll know that we never profess to say that we know anything about demonologists. In fact, we're the first ones to put our hands up and say, I haven't really got a clue. And we're also saying, the chances of us coming across the demons pretty remote, we think. So, but these are the people that we will call if ever we're unlucky enough to come across anything from that sort of dimension or from that ilk. So, good evening, Ben. Good evening, Lou. Thank you very much for coming on this evening. Really appreciate it. It's very kind of you.
Always a pleasure.
And, I was gonna. Whereabouts are you guys based?
Derby, Nottingham, Derby border.
That's a little bit of a contention there, isn't there, as to whether Derby, and we've got a friend who's a Derby man, and we did a few investigations at this property, but it was on the Derbyshire and it was on the Nottinghamshire borders. But he would argue that it was Nottinghamshire, and our other friends who was Derbyshire, and our other friends who were Nottinghamshire, and that's Nottinghamshire.
We've got Nottingham postcode, but we've got a Derby phone number.
Oh,
we are literally on the border. Like the border's just down at the bottom of the street.
Oh, that is too close for comfort. So what? Oh, is that right? Okay. So, sorry, bear with me.
It's all right.
Right. So, I'm just reading something that Vince put up for me. Don't worry about that. So,
don't forget the chat. I'll deal with the chat.
I know. I'm thinking this is for me, this message, isn't it? But never mind. So, Ben and Lou, could you give us a little introduction as to who you are, what you do, that type of thing, really? Give us a grounding of, or a potted history of what you do and who you are. That'd be great. Thank you.
I study cultology and demonology. I've been grateful enough to study all around the world in certain locations. Egypt, Romania, Rome itself, a few other places, Cambridge and Oxford in this country. I've had access to their libraries. If that kind of puts it down, study all sorts of cultology, be it from demonology to portal work to literally sort of the whole umbrella of cultology.
Excellent.
Lou covers divination, that sort of stuff.
I'm just learning this stuff as I go along because
we're all learning.
Didn't really know anything about demonology. I lived up in York. I got
lovely.
Friendly with spirits up there. But yeah, this side of stuff, not until I was with Ben. So I'm learning as I go.
Oh no, you've got no choice.
Yeah, we've all been doing it for years, and we're all still learning. To be honest with you, Lou.
Yeah, I'm still learning. I always say that.
I don't think when a day comes that you say you don't need to learn anymore, you know it all. It's time to give it in. I think really.
Yeah.
But so I was going to say, so you guys as well. I think you in particular, Ben, aren't you? You're a member of the. I don't think guild would be the right word, but you're a member of the Exorcist Order of Exorcists, aren't you? Is that right?
I'm an honorary member of the Order of the Exorcists. Yeah.
Excellent. So what does that?
Learning stuff over in Rome.
So what does that? What sort of powers does that give you, as it were? Does it give you the right to then carry out exorcisms if they be ordained, or if they be sort of, the church says that that's okay?
I sort of work outside the barriers of the church, so I can, if needs be, I can do what. If there's an emergency situation, I don't have to go through the same routes as them. I can just directly deal with it because I've had access to the same knowledge as they have. It's sort of a mutual understanding that if needs be, I've got that same ability to go in and do all of it as well.
But you also work with religions outside of Christianity as well.
I also work with a massive branch of different religions.
So you're like a badass exorcist.
Yeah.
Like a bounty hunter of exorcists. You go in there.
Well, like I was on about before. As I was on about before, when I turn up, I tend to turn up on a Harley.
Harley. Pretty cool, isn't it? Of course, they're not expecting it, are they? They're expecting some curmudgeonly old fella with a beard, dandruff on his shoulders, and a dog collar, I'm guessing.
Well, I've got the beard. It's getting there. It's just.
Is You got to go grey with it though, like me. That's the thing. You got to get old and go grey.
No.
It's starting to.
You got more grey up there.
Yeah. I don't think they like it when you turn up to an exorcist, when you turn up to a house and they're on about exorcism. You turn up and you've got Bat Out of Hell playing on your speaker system on the bike.
666 tat on your forehead. That would go down well with it. So you've carried out exorcisms. I'm guessing you've been privy to exorcisms as well that carried out either by you or with others. So what would be your worst? I mean, A, what would be your worst experience, and B, in the paranormal world or in the ghost hunting world, we're taught, or not taught, but we're kind of lots and lots of people in our environment that think that everything is demonic, or everything has its origins within the demonic, or it's a demon, or it's a devil, or what have you. And of course, Viv and myself have been doing it for a long time, and we know that that's not the case. We know that it's very, very rare that something like that crops up. Would you go along with that? Would you say that, or
the likelihood of you ever coming across an actual demonic entity? And let's face it. First off, the word demonic doesn't actually exist. It's just a word that's been graced by Christianity and all that lot to describe sort of what they class as evil spirits. So the likelihood of you coming across one is ridiculously small.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it comes to demons, you're not really across one.
no?
It'd be a ridiculously rare occasion.
Yeah, that's what we kind of thought, wasn't it, Viv? That but obviously there's lots and lots of investigators out there that swear that everything's demonic or dark. So when we talk about demon, what are we actually talking about? Obviously, we've got this idea of this sort of Judeo-Christian image in our head of these, I suppose you would call them almost, what would they be like, sort of gothic-y, gargoyle-y type images. Would you go along with that, or would you think, or is that just obviously part and parcel of Hollywood and everything else that has dressed it up over the years? Like that's Baphomet, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's Baphomet there. But prime example, that's usually what people expect a demon to look like, with the horns, the eyes, wings, and that lot. The most likely thing you're going to come across is what's known as a feral.
Yeah, explain different categories.
Yeah.
We've got like different categories for them.
Sorry, I'm jumping massively ahead of myself.
No, that's right. It's me. I'm doing the same. Sorry.
I'm terrible for doing it. So basically, you have different classifications, different categories. When we're talking about demonics, when you look at like attacks and stuff like this, you're usually dealing with what things classed as lesser demonics.
Okay.
So these are the ones where you will have attacks like that photo we showed you just off air.
Yes.
That was what was classified as a lesser demonic. The more likely thing you're going to run into on a case is what's known as a feral. These are usually about, and when I start describing you'll know that you've seen one before. They're about 4 foot, usually shadow figures. They will hiss, they will growl, they will make animalistic noises. They will usually, when you see people that have these scratches and all that, they're screaming demonic. It's not. You can guarantee there'll be like a scratch. Basically, the scratches look more like a cat.
Yeah.
And this is more of a territorial thing. Ferals are more what you classify as elemental. They're more animalistic.
So I think they go into the sort of broader spectrum of nature spirits and stuff like that, don't they?
They basically drop into that element of elementals, which are all the natural spirits. They will only attack as you'll notice when people have been attacked and that lot. They usually just enter the room and they're stuck between the only door out of that room.
Right.
Same thing when you pin a cat in a corner. The cat will lash out at you to make you move out the way so they can get past.
Right. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. Actually,
that's the likelihood of you'll more than likely come across one of them, which are not demonic in any way, shape, or form.
No, and I think over the years, haven't they? Particularly with religion, what's happened is that they've taken something like an elemental and almost crafted it into something that's demonic. To give people that idea, haven't they? I think obviously to fit the remit and to fit their idea. And of course, that's where a lot of the negativity goes. I remember speaking to a friend of mine who was she was a high priestess. She was actually in a coven years ago, and she said that to me that the word demon actually comes from daemon, which, taken in its entirety, means deity. So these elementals that were seen as gods and what have you, or seen as these positive nature energies, obviously they were deities, they were daemons, and then it became bastardized, if you like, over the years into the word demon.
Yeah, you take, for example, what we know, what gets classified as the 72 demonics. So you've got people like Asmon, Bor. In fact, Bor is probably the prime example to use. Bor, as we know it, is a high-ranking demonic. But when you go back to the old Sumerian, Babylonian religions, he's their highest god going.
Oh, okay.
High gods. So Christianity has basically done what it did back then, which was, as you just said,
fall under the god.
Yeah. Bastardize the image of him to make him evil.
Yeah. When the truth is, in its essence, it's nothing like that at all.
Yeah. Well, even when you look at the actual 72 demonics, I think there's only 10 that are actually what you class as full demonic, because the rest are all actually classified as fallen angels.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense.
The old, what you can find is with the old, like, demons, as they call them, the high-ranking demons, are all ancient gods that you can find roots of them in Egyptian, the old tribal religions.
And they all have specialties in what they can teach you.
Yeah.
Like knowledge banks, basically.
Yeah. I used to have a friend years ago who was pagan, but he used to worship Satan.
Yeah.
But he worshipped the sun because he said the sun is that is the god Satan to him. That's what the representation of it was. And it was like a light bringer, which I think that, isn't it, Lucifer means light bringer, doesn't it? It was Latin for light bringer, isn't it, or something?
What happened is you ended up with Lucifer and Satan becoming two things. Satan basically means is Hebrew for thy enemy.
Oh, right. Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. This was when it was back in when you're looking more towards Judaism beliefs in the early days. You basically had that Satan basically means thy enemy, and Lucifer was a fallen angel that obviously we all know rebelled against Christianity, all that sort of way. It was only in the modern sort of more towards the Christianity as we know it nowadays that the two became this entity. But it is like say Satan is. It's also Saturn as well for one of the Romans.
Yes. Yeah.
And they just became this combined mess of things.
No, you're right. It becomes convoluted, doesn't it? It becomes to the point where you have to kind of tweeze it all out to find the ends and find out where the truth goes to. I mean, it's like Hermie Hunter, isn't it? Or Kernunos, the hooded, or the horned god, as it were, god of the forest, also known as Pan, and also known as various other sort of gods or demigods along the way. And the thing is that image obviously became, again, bastardized, taken out of complete proportion, and then all of a sudden thrown back in, and that was a representation of the devil.
Yeah.
And that's just the same thing, isn't it? It's exactly the same thing. But it's tweezing those ends out, isn't it, and find out where the truth goes.
See, the devil has an actual name. When it comes to the 72, he's actually named as one of the high-ranking demonics. His description fits the devil description, but that's gone on through thousands of years before Christianity turned up.
Right.
So again, it's just how it is. Like I say, with Pan, it's the image has been twisted and distorted, and to be honest, a lot of it's done by Hollywood.
Yeah, definitely. I've even recently I've read some articles on the faith, because I've always been interested in the faith and the fairy realm and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And something that I came across recently was that the fae they're represented as fallen angels. And what happened was, this is the saying, this is the idea behind it, is that when God opened the heavens and cast the angels out, the ones that fell furthest fell down into a crevice, and then the crevice closed up, and then the ones that fell above the crevice, above ground, became the Fae. But again, it's so hard to fight. There's so much propaganda in there that you would never really get to the truth of it, you know, because I guess a lot of it is lost in the annals of history, isn't it? It's lost in time.
Yeah, well, you have to, using the Fae, for example, fairy folk, gnomes, all that lot, they all existed in Europe before Christianity even hit this part of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the problem. No, not aiming to sound disrespectful at all to anyone that's Christian beliefs or anything. This is from a historical point of view, that you have to remember all these religions were going completely fine, and then Christianity came along and just barbarically changed everything.
It steamrolled it all, didn't it, really?
Yeah. The best example of this is when it comes to when Christianity met the Nordic religions, so say the Viking religions. Ragnarok, the end of days prophecy for Vikings, was basically that once the world had been destroyed, the only people who were left was one man, one female, and a tree.
Right.
Christianity comes along and goes, don't worry, your religion is right, but the Ragnarok has already happened.
Yeah.
Our way of life is what was left after. So most Vikings just went, yeah, all right. Seems logically enough, and changed.
Yeah. I think they did with lots of different cultures, didn't they? With the Romans as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was forced upon them because it was sort of talking about Saturn and Saturnalia. That was a great big celebration. Yeah. It was where Saturday comes from, isn't it? I believe.
Yeah, that basically all came about with Constantine, Emperor Constantine. He changed the entire religion of an empire in a split second.
Well, it literally was, wasn't it? It was overnight, literally, almost. Yeah. It was unbelievably quick. Well, that's brilliant. So I'd like to ask you, if that's all right, what kind of the trouble with our lot? They love the blood and gut stuff. They love the nasty stuff. So what? Obviously, done exorcisms. What's the worst thing that you've seen or come across? Have you ever had some sort of conversation going on between you and one of these entities, one of these energies, or?
Well, the worst. I'd say the worst thing I've ever come across would be military food, for starters.
Yeah.
Especially the oat biscuits in a tin. But I've had I've had quite a few full-blown conversations with entities that have not turned out quite so well. I've been picked up and thrown against a wall in one instance, which was quite an interesting time. Yeah, that one was quite an interesting time, even looking back on it still. You just have to try and... It's hard when you have to try and keep yourself... Any weakness, stuff can pick up on.
Yeah.
So sort of having to pick yourself back up.
Is it anything like these Hollywood films, or is it just like that's spunkum?
It's nowhere near like the Hollywood films or anything like that. Like, people don't get instantly like picked up, constantly thrown around like a rag doll. You literally feel someone... It's more, as you've probably experienced before and yourself, someone pushing into you, an entity pushing into you.
Yeah.
It's more along them sort of lines, but this was more like a freight train hitting me and hit me back a few steps.
Bloody hell! Is it true? Do you have to get them to sort of give their name, and then that's their power gone, or that's their power gone in that environment?
That's an old... You're looking back to the old Christianity beliefs. Let's face it, everyone knows every demonic name going now. Most of the main big ones are all like mainstream, so you don't need the name. No. What you tend to need is what's known as a seal, which is sort of their marking, sort of like a cattle brand.
Right. Okay.
And let me go. I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to find something.
So, yeah, that's
you carry
fine.
on. You carry on.
Yeah,
it's relevant.
The sigils, is that the sigils and things?
Yeah, sigils, stuff like that. You usually find. Oh, look, because I've got my file next to it. I won't show any that I've got here, but use this for an example. I can get it out of the page. Back in the back. Sort of these like these Solomon ones. You'd sort of find you're looking. They'll put some sort of marking on you as a cattle brand. Because they're not after your soul or anything like that. It's not how that works.
What's the end game for them then? Or is it just chaos?
It's energy. The human body is a battery. You produce between what to say? What I've worked out the other week with one of my friends who's like an big IT engineer for electric.
Oh,
and stuff.
right, okay.
I think it's something like your body produces 300 to 400 watts of heat energy every couple of minutes. And as we know, when you go into a paranormal environment, you use an EM pod, don't you, to boost the electrical field. Yeah. They will, in a sense, feed off that energy. That's why you tend to feel knackered, all that sort of stuff. So that's what they're mainly after all.
So they're just like energy vampires, in other words, that type of thing. Is that what
yeah, if you use the word, use the word vampire, it's probably a prime example of it.
Yeah. So what would be their end game then? What is their ultimate? There you go.
Is that a seal?
That's the one of Lucifer, I think. That's not.
Would that be like a seal that you were talking about? Like that?
Yeah, you get that sort of mark in sort of like a round circle. Yeah. You sort of
sort of thing. That sort of thing. Okay. I don't use them, by the way, so don't get worried.
I was just get worried about
it. I've got nearly, so far counting, I've got nearly 200 in a book of mine that I've found over the years, loads of places around the world and stuff. Some are really simple, some are really complex. But it's mainly just like a cattle brand.
Yeah. So, looking at different cultures and different religions around the world globally, they've all got their own sort of orders, haven't they, of demons?
Yeah.
They've got some different demons, like Judaism's got different demons than, say, Hinduism or Christianity or any, or whatever the religion may be. But because I think is it the jinn that are like the Muslim?
Yeah, you've got jinn, you've got jinn, you've got ghouls, vampiric spirits. They've got about 7 or 8 different categories.
Oh, wow, that's a lot more than I thought, actually.
Yeah. There's a lot more. People tend to think it's just angels and demons. It's like, no, they have all massive subcultures, all different ranking systems. It's basically a political nightmare when it comes to stuff.
So what do you? Sorry, go on. Sorry.
Go on, buddy.
I say, what do you think their ultimate end is? Their end game. What do you think their ultimate? Is it just to get energy, or is there anything that they're aiming towards or working towards? Is it destruction, or is that again just part and parcel of the whole myth and legend that's been sort of perpetrated around them?
A lot of the time, there is no destruction or anything like that. If you look into more cultology science, like so take for example one of the famous guys, John Dee. He worked alongside with demonics and angels. Now, when you step away from the modern ideology of being evil and all that, and look back towards the older stuff, they're all spirits that are here wanting to teach us things.
Right.
As Lou said earlier, with demonics and that lot, a lot of the 72, you can find out what they actually teach. Like some teach mathematics. Especially mathematics, astrology, science.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're looking more towards a higher level being than ourselves. If that kind of makes sense.
I knew less than I thought I did.
I know
I didn't think I knew anything.
Yeah, but down in Syria, they had that temple for your Beelzebub, and going back in history, he was Beelzebub was celebrated as a god,
Yeah.
and it was all things good and everything like that. Now, I don't think it survives anymore because ISIS has been and bombed a load of stuff, but that was one example in history where it's been twisted in modern day to frighten people now.
Wow.
And it, you know, it was always a good thing in the past.
Well,
Yeah.
Lilith, for example, everyone knows Lilith as being one of the most evil female demonics going in the world.
She was a goddess, wasn't she, at one point?
She was one of the Sumerian goddess of fertility.
Yeah. Yeah, so she
And
wasn't
abandoned
negative
children.
at all, was she? Yeah. She was a positive entity or positive energy, wasn't she? Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How these things get spun and turned upside down and represent completely opposite of what you think they should.
As I used to say all the time when I used to teach people, which I'm starting to do now, again, is the first thing I want you to do is take everything you know about demonology and I want you to just dump it.
Yeah.
And start fresh because you need that level of understanding.
Yeah, it's intriguing. It's really interesting, isn't it? It's,
the Americans think demonology is something different. They think that demonology is just going out ghost hunting, and then call themselves demonologists. Ed and Lorraine Warren, for example.
Everything was a demon, wasn't it?
That's right. I get that twitch whenever the name's mentioned. No disrespect to them. They were brilliant at what they did, but they were never invited anywhere else around the world. They were only invited in America.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know Bonnie was on.
I've got some questions, by the way. I'm going to put them up in the chat if that's all right. I'm starting putting the questions up because we're at 8:30. So, do you want to read them out, Dan?
Terry says that's why when house clearing, leave exit open. What's it?
There's a thing when they do house clearings, they use white sage, and the idea is to leave every single window open and all that.
Yeah.
For starters, do not use white sage.
Oh, really?
It's never been used in history. It's a fad that came over in the 70s from America. It's a Native American herb, and everyone back then was all into the Native American things. White sage is bloody useless.
Oh.
You want to use something, use
sandalwood.
Santo Polo, is it?
That's what I cannot pronounce it with an open accent.
Panto.
Yeah. Frankincense, myrrh, lavender, a tree resin that's called dragon's blood.
Yeah.
Mild socks.
Yeah. I think I could vouch for that as well.
Terrible.
Anything other than white sage, even the Native Americans don't use white sage. They use it as a basis mixed with sweetgrass, other different herbs. They don't use it solidly by themselves. It seems to be this fad that people have picked up over the last couple of years.
I suppose a lot of it's coming on the back of the new age sort of hippie culture, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where it basically come up from straight away. People using white sage for everything. It's brilliant. That's right. I've just literally seen Vonnie's put Sage Ray's Rampage. Vonnie's a student of mine, and she knows I was trying to get this hashtag around for ages.
So Jamie wants to know, when he says how big or small are they, I think he's talking about the demons. So, the higher ones.
Yeah, depends on your ranking system. Like I said, with the lessers, they usually stand between 4 to 5 foot shadow figures. You'll notice that. When it comes to the higher up ones, say what we get classed as the name ones, that are usually the ones that do possessions and stuff like that, where once you find out their name and what they're after, you can sort of organise what's going on from there. They usually stand about 6 foot. You can't mistake them from another human being spirit.
Right.
You will literally know the difference straight away.
Yeah. David Rogan, he says, I can't pronounce this word.
Asmodeus?
It's basically Asmodeus. But I always say Asmon because I sometimes just can't be bothered to say the full word.
But you know, that's funny he said that because in this book that I found to do a little bit of research before coming on,
Yeah.
it's likened some of these demonic names to, what are they called, Dan?
What's that? Sorry.
Did
The
you?
no, the seven. Is it the seven deadly sins?
Oh yeah,
Um,
you've got the 7 deadly sin
sloth and
categories.
greed and stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's got Lucifer as pride, Mammon, Avarice, Asmodeus, lechery, Satan, anger, Beelzebub, gluttony, Leviathan, envy, and Belfer, sloth. Is that actually correct? Can you sort of attune these demons
Well,
into that?
The L one. Sorry, my brain's fried because I just heard everyone's name and my brain went overload.
Lucifer or
Not
Leviathan?
Lucifer, Leviathan.
Leviathan.
Leviathan is actually a creature,
Yeah.
not actually demon.
Water.
This is
Creature.
where I'm trying to rack my
Yeah,
brain
I think
from
sea
all.
creatures, yeah,
Leviathan
you're right there.
is the creature of the sea.
Yeah.
Behemoth is the creature of the land.
Right.
So
Right,
I have to have her here because she jogs my brain because I just forget everything.
There's just so many of them. I'm impressed.
Oh, there's lots of them, isn't there? There's lots and lots and lots of them. But it's interesting in itself, isn't
But yeah,
it? It's an
then
amazing subject.
you've got people like Asmon, for example, is a brilliant prime example here for different cultures, different religions. So you've got Asmon has been seen a few times in history as being a winged being. Now, I think you say winged being, people think of angels. So then you've got one of the high-ranking angelics, which is Raphael.
Yeah.
Now, in Egypt, round the Temple of Luxor, there is an old tale of these two fighting in Egypt back centuries ago, and Asmon being imprisoned in the second obelisk in the Luxor Temple. This being the obelisk just in front of the settling pond.
Yeah.
Luxor Temple. If anyone ever wants to look it up, it is, as you're looking at the Luxor Temple on Google, it's on the right hand side, closest towards the sort of edge of the Nile. It's a large pond. But there you have the crossing over of a Christian belief into an ancient Egyptian belief.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, the stories become completely distorted, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it becomes more Christian than it does pagan in its retelling.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. So William asks, what was the first ever religion?
See, you can't find a basis for that because there's thousands spread across. At current time, there's 4,800 plus religions on this planet.
Yeah, unbelievable now. Unbelievable.
The earliest Christianity was Zoroastrian, which came out of Persia. Now that's the beginning part of what they class as Christianity. But before that, you had the Persian beliefs, you had the Babylonian beliefs, the Sumerian beliefs. Then before that, you had what's known as tribal beliefs. Then before that, you have what's known as the creature beliefs, which are like the Native American beliefs, and so on and so on and so on. So you can't actually put a pin in and say, right, this is the first religion.
Yeah. It's where the origins of it come from, isn't it?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But I'm guessing the origins would be naturally folk religion, wouldn't they? Folk beliefs, which would come under the umbrella of paganism, wouldn't it?
Yeah, paganism basically means multiple gods, and it basically extends to everything before.
Isn't paganism relatively new, though? Because when you hear about the cradle of life, they think it began in Ethiopia and the African countries and the Arab countries sprung up first, and they had their beliefs, and then we sort of migrated from them. So then it grew and grew and grew.
Yeah.
So nobody really knows.
Yeah. The problem with nowadays is when you say paganism. Sorry, buddy. Because there's a bit of a delay.
No, you're fine. It's me. Sorry.
When you say paganism, people instantly go to Wiccan.
Yeah.
Now, Wiccan was set up by Gardner just before World War II.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what people instantly assume. You say pagan, they instantly go for Wicca. It's not. Paganism has been around for centuries.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, these are all the origins are all folk religions, aren't they? Which is paganism in its truest form. Whereas our Gardner he set himself up as a separate entity, didn't he, in that respect? But then he was really neo-paganism, wasn't he? He just molded it his way, if you like. But yeah, no, it's an interesting subject. Right, sorry, Viv.
Deb says you can drain. Yes, electricity drains you. Brains need to fire off to think.
Yeah.
Your
body creates that electrical field all the time. That's what spirits will link onto. That's why if you're ever in an area of high activity, you'll find that you tend to get drained, you tend to get tired. People always say when an entity's there, they're drawing off their energy, people want to instantly start getting tired.
Yeah. So Von asks, Ben, why do you think demonics are not as active, celebrated nowadays? Do you think it is down to education, religion changing?
Well, Vonnie, you should be able to tell me that, considering you're one of my students.
She wants you to work.
So, why do you think?
Don't you pick on our Von, Ben, because I'll have to do you. Von, I'll stick up for you, love. Don't worry about it.
So I've got loads of homework to give her soon.
Don't you pick on our Ben?
Basically, what it is a lot of it is to do with Hollywood, because people have assumed over time that demons are bad and all this sort of stuff. It's literally, we've been in the clutches of Christianity for the past, say, 1,000 years. So it's embedded into subconsciously that demonics are evil, angels are good. That's how it is. Just to, again, prime example, if you look in the Bible, for example, or any historical facts when it comes to that sort of area, Satan only killed 2 people.
Oh, right.
One of the angels, called Aziel, wiped out the entirety of Egypt during when you look towards the Jews escaping Egypt.
Wow.
And then you've got God himself, when he did the flood, killed millions. So then that's where you start. This is what I say in some of our lessons is, this is when you start to question a bit. Not everything's bad, but not everything's good.
Yeah. So there's another question that sort of might time with that. This is William, as Simply Spooky.
So William asks, Christians took ancient gods and turned them to be called demons to drive people away from the old religions and push them to the Christian,
Prime example.
Yeah.
Prime example there, again, is Pan.
Yeah.
Well said, Viv. That was my next question to Ben about America and demons. The Warrens have been shown to be frauds. I'm saying nothing.
I will refrain from commenting because me and Chris have banged heads a few times.
They're frauds.
Well, to put it bluntly, to give a little bit here. Nola, shush.
We should get on a T-shirt, Sage Rage.
Sage Rage Rampage. We were hashtagging it on the other dimension. It was hashtag Sage Rage Rampage because I wouldn't shut up about it. The Warrens learned a lot of their stuff from English cultology. You have to remember when I was on about John Dee, he was the prime spiritual advisor to Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth I. Sorry.
No, that's
he
all right.
was prime example. That's how it was there. They learned from Europe. No offense to American fans, if any are watching on here, but that country's only existed for like what, 20 to 30 years.
Yeah. No, apart from the Native Americans, they're all European anyway, aren't
they? Yeah. We are pretty much. We've been going around for centuries dealing with this stuff. I'm running out of things to throw at the dog now.
No, leave the dog alone. The dog wants to join in.
It's because Lou's gone and the dog goes with him.
Oh.
So we got another question.
Yeah.
Oh. So that's Jamie. So when you go into a place, do you have to do still ground yourself to give you protection when you are dealing with, what you're dealing with, yeah.
One of the main things I do, which is a really old cultural thing, and an old sort of folklore magic thing, and I use the word magic loosely on here. It's throw some sage.
You've not been listening, Terry. It doesn't work.
No, go to the back of the class where the
The
dunce hat.
only thing you should be throwing sages is on a chicken. Is to literally, as weird as this sounds, is to drink tap water.
Yeah.
Because it will. Obviously, we all know that spirit-wise, you get more activity around water. So if you drink, it sounds really silly saying it, but I've said this to everyone for years. If you have just a drink of water from wherever you are in that place, from the surrounding area, you will instantly connect to the surrounding area, because the reservoirs are not far away from where you are, which is the embodiment of the water that's picking up all the nutrients and anything from the ground. You're basically locking yourself into that electrical field of that area.
Yeah,
because it's sat
that makes
in
sense.
a reservoir.
Yeah. And I guess
Would a
also
cup of-
you're taking on a natural element, aren't you?
Yeah.
As a living thing.
Would a cup of tea be all right because you boiled the water? Would that have the same effect?
Not so much, because when you boil the water, obviously you kill out a lot of the minerals and stuff like that that's in it. You sterilise the water in a sense.
Yeah.
So it's literally just, first thing I do is, like, whenever I go, well, I don't drink tea or coffee. I'm one of these freaks that don't drink hot drinks. But the first thing I always do is have a glass of water from the person's home or anything like that, because it instantly locks you into where you are.
Connects you to, yeah. It's interesting, actually.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to hear someone talk about this subject who knows what they're talking about. Thank you. That's from William, isn't it, Viv?
Yeah, it's from William.
No, thank you.
Jamie says
Taller than me, then.
The demons.
As I was saying, with the high-ranking ones, you'll know when you've seen one. They usually stand anywhere between 12 foot to 24 foot.
Whoa!
What?
A good friend of ours, Andy Moore from, I don't know if you know who Andy Moore is, from Wednesbury Paranormal. He's quite a good psychic medium. He works a lot with HD Paranormal. He's seen one with us before that's been 12 foot, and he says he saw it walk down the stairs and he went white.
Oh, God.
Bloody hell. That's Russ's group, isn't it? You're on about Wednesbury. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neanderthals seem to have some sort of spiritual, but yeah, I can well believe that.
Yeah, if you look at the cave drawings and stuff like that, they show straight away spiritual entities. So it's one of these things of trying to find out how far it goes back, because, like you say, the Neanderthal paint drawings show prime example of spiritual connection right back then. Martin,
who's this sexy looking fella?
I'm Dan.
Yeah, he's Dan.
Mark, don't big him up, though, not while we're live.
We're not worthy. We're not.
I'll give you my smouldering look, Mark.
Oh dear.
Hey, hello, Mark. Mr. Manley. Hello, Mark.
She's back now.
I have a question. I have a question for you.
Go for it.
This is a bit controversial, and it might sound weird, but bear with me. Could the cryptids and the demons, could they coincide and actually one be the other? Could let's say Bigfoot, could it be one of these demons that's coming out and
Bigfoot because
showing
of his size, Viv?
Because of his size, he's massive apparently.
Yeah,
and Dogman. And Dogman.
There is the occasional story of this sort of thing happen. To bring it into more, shall we say, bring it to more of a home ground. You've all heard stories of the hellhounds, the black dogs.
Yeah.
Now, these are entities, yet.
That's Dogman.
Our demon dog attacking everyone.
A tiny little hellhound.
Yeah, prime example of these demon dogs have all been seen throughout British history and all this sort of stuff, and being highly spiritual animals. Yet one church, and I can't remember the bloody name of it, and I'll be kicking myself because I'll remember after we go.
The one in Suffolk?
Say again?
The one in Suffolk with the scrape down the door?
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the bloody church, though.
Got the
I'll
book
find
here.
it.
It's called, I've got the book here, called Burning Black. It is. You lot talk amongst yourself and I'll try and find the name.
Okay.
Well, that one, for a prime example, that attack happened during a highly active electrical thunderstorm at the time.
Yeah.
So there's your energy.
Yes.
But they found the body of this dog in the graveyard. It had been buried. So that's where you go from, is it an actual cryptid, or was it spirit, or was it both?
Or was it
That
both?
a spirit had taken on a body form, which then made it into a cryptid.
But could a demon take on that form to sort of dupe people, do you think? Is that known to happen?
There's loads of cases. Prime example of that being, if you look at Son of Satan, if you look towards the serial murderers in America, a lot of them claim to have had a demon talk to them in dog form, causing them to do things. And so you do have historical cases of these crossovers, massive. Like say, Sasquatch, prime example, a few times that's been happening. What's he put now?
Yeah, I mean, Dan. Yeah, I know you're lying now, Mark. I know you're lying now.
Dan, you're going to give Mark one of your looks just to that in. There you go. That's for you, Mark.
That'll keep you up all night.
I want you to do that. I'm going to put underneath it, say, did someone mention sage?
Sage.
Oh, dear.
Sleep the night now, that'll leave the lights on. What about ancient carvings and statues could be demon images?
Yeah, well, you've got a prime example there. You've got Pazuzu in Sumerian culture. Most of their statues are little statues about this big with bat wings on the back.
Yeah.
But if you look at the carvings properly, the wings look more like that of a butterfly rather than an actual bat. So it's crossover of cultures. Take, for example, the carvings of the Sumerian beliefs. You've got the Anunnaki. They're shown with eagle heads with these big wings. They are not demonic. But why is Pazuzu then, for example, a demonic yet? Just because he's got wings, looks exactly the same. Why is he now labelled as a demonic?
Is Hollywood got a lot to play with it, though? Have they got a lot to blame?
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Hollywood and Christianity, basically, isn't it?
Yeah. Prime example, when it came to Ghostbusters coming out, suddenly there was possessions of Pazuzu all over the world. No one had heard about it outside of cultology since then.
Yeah.
Then you have Ghost Adventures. Zach Bagan comes across the Zozo demon. Suddenly everyone's heard of the Zozo demon.
Yeah.
Even though that's not the actual name of it, they take, for example, the Aztec god Camazon, the bat god. That isn't Zozo. The proper name for Zozo is a different entity altogether. It's spelt ZOTZ, which gives you a different entity altogether. So you've got three entities there that are no way connected, separated by thousands of miles of culture. Yet all of a sudden they're just appearing randomly all over. Someone so much as touches a Ouija board now, instantly, I've got Zozo.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
It's over in Mexico, and it's more the South American cultures that Zozo appears in.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. So what's William said? Could people just label a cryptoid a demon?
Yeah.
Could be either way. Yeah.
Demon basically is just a label. That's pretty much sums it up there. Prime example, demon, it's literally just a label for anything.
Thanks, Mark.
I just shake my head.
How's that, Alan?
That's
Now I look
brilliant.
like a bloody, what do you call it? I look like somebody looking for somebody's curtain with no clothes on.
Oh dear. So I want to just quickly, before we run out of time, I just want to quickly touch on some of the rare possessions that have happened. And the one for the life of me, I can't think of the girl's name, but she was possessed and kept in a big cathedral in France when they were trying to exorcise her, and it went on for months. You know which one I mean.
There's
Is that
loads that have been
Michelle?
like that.
Which they tied her down because she rose in front of the congregation, and they actually
Yeah.
kept it in.
They
It's
ended
very,
up
very old.
tying her to a cross for protection at that point.
Yeah, that's right. It was, sorry, bear with me.
Sinking it into holy water about that deep from the cross.
She died, and
Yes.
so is this, and this is back in history. This is not an American out there kind of Hollywood thing. This thing goes back in history in France. Why is this thing so rare? If it's happening to one or two people, why has it not happened recently that we've heard about? And why is it? And the second question is, why are all the demons over in America and nowhere else in the world right now? Because every demon's over there, plaguing everyone over there, but they're not plaguing anyone else. Why is that?
The ones that you see back in history, you have to take into account. Like one of the best ones I covered was when we do our Sunday show, where I teach a lot of stuff. Was a young woman got possessed by, I think it was 120 demons. She got possessed by eating an apple that contained 120 demons. A lot of these old possession stories come out during the era of where you had Catholicism fighting the Protestants and stuff like that. You had what's known as like the Great Collapse of Christianity, where everyone was breaking off into subgroups. So a lot of these were used as propaganda to keep people more with the church than anything else.
Yeah.
That's why you don't really see a lot more modern of it now, because that fighting sense is well over.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose a lot of the myth and legend has just died down, hasn't it? And a lot of the misrepresentation has gone with it, I guess.
Yeah, prime point there. And the reason a lot of it's in America is America's really, really easy to just go like that. Everything straight away.
Yeah.
There is a theory that the reason America is highly active is because the entire country has one hell of a curse on it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Didn't think about it like that.
No.
Due to the fact that the entire country is bathed in blood from what they did to the Native Americans.
Yeah.
And also, if you look at their main insignia, is the eagle. Now, the eagle has been cursed since the Roman times.
Yeah.
Every empire that's ever had the eagle as an insignia since the Romans.
Third Reich had it, didn't they, as well?
Yeah.
Has failed. Napoleon had it. Third Reich had it.
Yeah.
America's got it now. Yeah. Every culture that doesn't have ancient connections has died terribly with the eagle when it comes to warfare.
Yeah.
The Mayans had it when the Spanish conquistadors came across and wiped out what was their biggest settlement, which is now Mexico City. Another prime example of a curse there. So that's the theory of why America is so active with people. Yeah.
Yeah, the Mexicans have it as well, didn't they?
Right, listen, we've got 3 minutes left. So, Lou, Ben and Lou, will you come back on? Because I feel we've just not even touched the tip of the iceberg on this. We've got more to ask, more to talk about. And we want to get you on sooner than later.
Anytime.
If you don't mind. Because I'd like to ask Lou as well about her talks and that's maybe I should get Lou on her own, you know, to do just do a ladies' night, you know, forget the men.
Oh yeah, Ben does like to talk. I just kind of put words at him that he needs.
It's so so interesting.
It
And
feels like
just
you've
got-
not even cut the ice, doesn't it? It feels like you've
No.
not even got dipped into it, really. Your toe's not even in there.
I wanna
Like I
join
said
his
to you
class.
guys, I haven't done a course that takes 4 hours. I've done my stuff has been taking me
Yeah.
10, 11, 12 years. I'm still going now. I'm still getting books sent to me. I'm still getting stuff sent to me from all around the world. For example, today, a friend of mine sent me an old dictionary he'd found, 1985, that was a remodel of one that he found in 1806. And you've seen it. Instead of it being saved onto my phone as a PDF, it's saved into my photograph album. So I've got 406 photos to look through for this book of insignias.
Ben and technology don't go well together. He likes his books to be like proper books, not on a PDF, because it confuses him when they go on.
Oh, I'm like that, though, to be honest. Talking of
Mark?
books and talking about history, Leiston is where the Devil Dog was. It was at a church.
That was
St.
it,
Mary's
Leiston.
Church. Leiston.
Yeah.
Mark, I agree. This couple are just so wonderful. Honestly,
Brilliant.
I've fallen in love with them, not in a kinky way or anything. Just as people, they are just so nice. And I've got so many more questions I want to ask them, but sadly we have run out of time, Dan.
Anytime you want us back on, by all means.
Next couple of weeks,
Thank
we're going to get you back on while
guys.
it's still fresh and hot.
Yes.
Ronnie, you've got homework this Sunday.
Oh,
Ben, Lou, thank you so much. All you guys in the chat, thank you very much for being here this week again. Brilliant. You're all stars. Thank you ever so much.
Anytime.
Anything you want to say?
I just saw someone down there said they wanted us on their show. I think it was you guys.
That's William.
Anytime, get in touch with us.
Oh,
just to do a bit of plugging. If you're ever free on Friday nights, 7 till 8, if you come over to the other dimension, you will find our main show. We also go live on Pulse Talk Radio, same time. Thursdays, Lou does her talks on divination.
But only fortnightly.
Only fortnightly. And every Sunday, we do occult science and history with myself. And Lou is my partner and co-host as we talk through the history and the scientific side of occultology, paranormal. So there.
Fantastic.
And they can always get hold of you here as well if they need to chat to you.
Direct you.
Both of you guys. Okay, cool. Right, we will see you next Tuesday on Things Network at 7 o'clock, and next Wednesday at the usual time of 8 o'clock, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah,
yes.
8 o'clock, yeah.
I've gone blank now because I've been gobsmacked by tonight's show. So
brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
And,
William says my show is Metaphysical Insights. I just thought I'd get that across to Ben and Lou.
Yeah.
So
right, we're going to say goodnight, everyone. I think Mark's got to go and do a reading, and I think you guys deserve a good cup of tea or glass of water in your case, and a rest. And we will get you back on the show in the next couple of weeks.
Definitely.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Lou. Thanks so much.